Hi there. Welcome to our program, Thoughts of an Artist. We're very fortunate in having Philippe Maucotel with us for the third time tonight. Hopefully, we will see some more of his home and his studio. Thank you so much for coming, Philippe. We're so glad you could come. We're talking to you last week about your ideas of puns when you do your sculptures. And in your yard, we saw...
Well, do you want me to summarize up?
Well, what your theory on puns, yes.
Subsculpture. Oh, two birds with one cut, and I forget what else. Actually, with all the S's, and that was not really a pun in itself.
Right. But when you had the bridge in the house.
Yeah. Well, the bridge, of course, is a play on the idea of suspension, a suspension point, you know, the suspended bridge. But the original idea is a reference to the concept of a bridge towards God. Art should be a bridge towards.
Which came first, the idea?
The idea,
the pun?
The thought itself. Well, the word itself, of course, you have to start with the idea of suspension, you see, and then. Okay. But they were both, in fact, came at the same time. You know, the idea of doing it while thinking that, you know, well, reading that.
Oh, you never know really which came first.
Well, generally the word comes first. Remember, that's what it says in the Bible. You know, first was the word.
First was the word.
So that's what shows the process.
Well, we're going to go back to your home today and see some filming that we did there some time ago, and hopefully we'll catch up on all the things that we didn't see, and then we'll come back and then talk about those things, plus this intriguing table, which we're not going to tell anybody about right now, but we'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
So we're off to your house again, Philippe, and we'll be back.
This is Destruction, which is obviously a play on word on truck. This destruction was, in fact, destructed by a truck, you see, to fulfill its full punny. Destruction, a play on word using the word truck. This reads semantics, which obviously is using the word cement, which is the material used, and the semantics. This is more or less the motto as far as my work is concerned. This is my library with all the classics. Right. This is toi et moi. Toi meaning you and moi meaning me. Toi also means roof, so it's really you and I in one roof, under, or rather on top of one roof. Of course, the attempt here is to solve the big problem, as you know, between object and subject, which has bothered everybody since. These are a series of aquarium. Each deals with fish, as you can see. Start with fiction, fish wreck, simple fish, another fish, and a catfish. Don't have to clean the aquarium, don't have to feed the fish. These are perfect fish. Not really perfect. This is my bed, lit in French, lit, which of course means lit, lit in English. I read in bed, you see, which means je lis au lit, which means that's where I do all my literature. and other things.
Then you see big on the...
This is grossesse, which is a play on pregnancy. Grossesse in English means, in French means pregnancy. It's, if you want, it's gross. Further there on the left, if you can, you have a political piece which is on laissez-faire, which in this case reads as laissez-faire. I did an outdoor one on the same thing. Outside now you can see big, you see? Can you see big? Now, so when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I see is big. So I can say, wow, they're going to have a big day, you know? And it makes me think big also and dream big as well. On top you see perhaps a cat there. And I have a cat also. I have also dogs like this. Everything, in other words, a world of happiness here. All these words makes life so much easier. This is for my tomb, so you can remember me, Maury. This is morose. This is for those who feel morose. Mo, of course, as you know, means word in French. This is a pink word.
And talk.
Now, what you see in front of my library is a totem, which is an homage to the local Indians, the Kathag.
Okay.
Like mine, this is a piece which is part of an installation actually, which is an electric train running around on a track, and it was shown in a sort of a desert landscape. And you had one track mind moving along. And of course a bull watching the train pass by.
We're back. We've just had a nice tour through your house, Philippe, to see some of the wonderful things that are there. One of the things that really I appreciate is that word that could be English as it stands, or French, subterfuge.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you decide on how to come up with that one?
Well, the reference is similar to the one that you saw outside, the subsculpture, which is the prefix sub, meaning
yes.
under.
Okay.
So you know the meaning of subterfuge, which is the trick, way around a problem. The etymology, the prefix under, terre, as you know, refer to ground, and fugue, the word fugue in music or in general. In French, the term means to flee away, and in English too. I mean, in music, it's a reference
technically, to go under the ground. It's a flight, exactly, right.
So the etymology refers to a trick to avoid problems or to contour the problem.
Right.
So that's what the reference is.
It's interesting. I'm so impressed with your ability to take French words and English, and obviously a Latin derivation, and do such a turnaround with that. I think it's great.
Well, there are many, as you know, there are many English words in French and vice versa, many French words in English, so that's not really the problem. The problem is to find the right one.
The vehicle.
The right vehicle for what I'm intending to refer to.
Yeah. The other one was semantics.
Mm-hmm.
that is made of
Well, cement,
cement,
obviously,
right? And of course the play is...
The play is changing the S to a C, and
Right.
so it's a very simple pun. It's a reference to the state of semantics today. You know, you can
Yes.
see it's pretty
Yeah.
badly cast.
Yes,
So,
indeed, right.
um,
And then, of course, you went up into the bookshelves and carried the semantics business
Right.
into the books. How big were the book symbols?
Well, approximately 1 foot by 6 inches or high or
Right.
so,
Yeah.
with variations, right?
Was it you didn't have books to put there that started
No,
this?
no. It's well, nobody reads anymore.
Oh, all right. Yes.
No, yeah, we know it's of course a reference to many things, and the fact that where is the ultimate meaning? You can read the entire literature in the world, the libraries, and still never get to the truth. So in that sense, of course, it's somewhat a satire of, of what that kind of wisdom is about. But it's really up to you to decide.
Because the shape, each one is a little bit different.
Yeah, because
So-
I'm very clumsy, so I never have
no,
the,
I was going to give you credit and say, because every book is different.
yes.
So every word that you have.
Well,
there
every book is different, but if I planned them the same, it would have been near impossible, so, you know.
Oh, you shouldn't tell me that. I thought it was so impressive that they were all different. The other intriguing one that you had were these very tall matches. They look like book matches or paper matches that would look like tall figures. I'm intrigued with that. Is that also a pun, or how
Yes,
did
it
that
is a pun. I don't know if I dare say here what it refers to. The pun, these works, which we have seen only, we saw only one, those matches, I think, in this program. These works are work which I began doing years ago. It was the very first thing I did. They were a series of pieces which I had done about friends of mine who, about their work, a sort of a affectionate reflection or reference to their work.
to their work?
Yeah, their own work.
Okay.
They're all now, in fact, very famous people here in New York. But at the time, my friendship with them dates back to the years of my youth in France and until I came to America. I had nothing to do with the visual world myself. I was studying literature at the Sorbonne, and I was really interested in literature and was trying to write, let's say. And so my happens that, met a lot of these people, and I guess they were my type of people, I don't know, and spent most of my time with them in the evenings and so on. And in those days, the openings were very fancy, so there was a nice way to drink free, and the hors d'oeuvres were excellent. The women were very attractive, so there was a good incentive to attend those vernissages, those openings in Paris. So I guess that's the way free meals,
Well,
free meals, free
yes,
drinks,
of
and a
course, yeah.
chance at meeting beauty. So, and that led me to make friends with many of these people who, in fact, gave me my education in art, beginning by the end, at
Did you
least,
study, after you studied languages, then writing, then you went into to learn art, or had you
Never,
been-
no, I never, as I mentioned to you, I never set foot into art school, except beauty schools, as I think I mentioned it. You have my haircut in Brooklyn, a very cheap haircut, very nice atmosphere, I recommend. That's my only Platonician visual experiences
Well,
in beauty schools.
Sometimes it's a very good idea. You're not getting blurred by overtrained, someone putting their idea over
Well, you
yours.
see, I never had any intention to do these awful things. I never really, it just dawned and came over me totally unplanned. you know, it's the time when I was starting to write again seriously, and led me to think about those years and begin to write about their work, and then decide to do pieces in reference to their work. So I did a whole series of things which I used to call mimecritique, which is a mime, you know, mimicking their work. So those matches refer to one particular man, Raymond Hans is his name. He had done work with matches at one point.
Oh, he had?
Yeah, he had done, in reference to the Frenchman, Seta and Safa, which is the French and Italian matches, you know, that produced by the state. It's nationalized. It used to be all nationalized, and it still is in both countries. So it was a reference to all kinds of things in his part, and mine were a reference to African beauties, sexy matches, you know. Then, of course, there was another implication, which was slightly dirty.
So, actually, what kind of writing were you doing?
Poetry.
Poetry, So really, the language is obviously...
Was my interest, yeah.
Absolutely.
And never very satisfied with my work. And when I began this, so step by step it started taking more and more of my time, you see, and somehow very quickly I felt far more confident about this.
And comfortable.
Yes, and of course being here, you want to establish a dialogue with people, you know, which is not possible in a foreign language. Some, you know, actually in poetry, you can't translate these things, really.
Poetry is one of the most difficult to
So I guess there were
too.
many reasons, from genetic makeup to the existential, you know, reality of being here in exile, speaking a foreign language, wanting to communicate in other ways.
So you picked a perfect bridge over with the language.
It sort of picked me somehow.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, they were talking about, some years ago, there were some people who did fractured French, fractured German. They were books that were comedy, a kind of thing. And as you hear them, you see where the puns work into them.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Well, you remember in France, in fact, during the de Gaulle years in particular, they were very upset about the franglais, you know, which was the invasion of English in French, and they tried everything possible to avoid that. I think they even had conceived of fine, I think, for the use of Anglicism. But it's impossible. I mean, it was self-defeating. It never worked. And today, I think there's more and more English in French, American English,
look at our cuisine.
Well,
many of our words are directly.
Well, any particular technology, which is one culture's creation, gets in every other culture comes to it with its own language, more or less. Whether it's Japanese cuisine, Hebrew, you find a lot,
As we were talking earlier, as your language, your English improved and became broader, so did your puns get more involved with your artwork too?
Yes and no. I mean, it's well, by the time I started that, I had been here for many years already. You see, at least I'll say 18 years or more. That's when I only started this kind of work about 12 years. About 12 years ago, if I'm right. I don't want to be vain about my age, but it was about 12 years ago, 13, 14 maybe. So it's years after I'd been here.
Yeah, when you became more comfortable.
Yeah. Well, it's not the reason. It's just, as I said, everything was really planned.
Yeah, that's intriguing. What's the oldest piece that you have in your?
Well, the one that I think was on the tape, the oldest are those matches. There are many others which go back to the same period, the very beginning. But these were not words necessarily. You see, they were visual puns, not using words.
Yeah, your media that you've used for them is different too. You seem to have used wood, metal, and so forth. Did you tie in, relate the medium with the pun as well?
Well, yes. I think there is a piece, rust, for example. I think that wasn't on the tab. Rust obviously had to be metal. You know, that was a strict reference to
Yes, yes,
the,
right.
as this says, the signifier today. Yeah, so that was obviously, had to be semantics, had to be in cement, for example.
Yes, yes, of course,
you know,
yes, right,
of
it was
course,
perfect.
every reference to puns like forest that we saw, you know,
Right.
had to be in wood. So sometimes the material is, of course, is an obvious choice. All the time it varies where, obviously, where I want it to go. If it's meant to be outside, it has to be the proper material, metal or cement or anything which would protect the weather, you see.
Yes, of course. Right.
Wood is used because it's cheap and lends itself for
And available.
easily available, not difficult to work. I mean, it takes a long time to finish them off. But the material, as I think I mentioned before, is not the important thing in my mind.
Now, we're talking about medium and so forth, and now we're going to talk about what's on the table. Tell us about the two trains that you have here. This one, the little one, the one in the center.
Well, the one in the center is part of an installation which I'd done about 8 years ago, a one-track mine.
A one-track mine. I love that. I think this is great.
That was installed on a very large table, which was looked like a desert landscape, dunes, you know, and with the light fixtures around it, so it looked like the desert at dusk.
Oh, very good.
You know. So the train was moving around. It was about 12 feet long by maybe 4 or 5 feet wide, you see, and all dunes, you see. So some tunnels, you know. So the one-track mine, of course, the choice of landscape was because of the dryness of such a mine, or the desertic mine, you know. So that was the idea. Of course, we show it here as it is. And I had a trouble tonight. I just couldn't get it going.
Nothing to do with the artistic, just the technology failed us tonight.
Happen in the desert sometimes.
We'll have to put it in the desert.
You get, you know, desert is a rough
Well,
thing.
the other one, technically, the other one is great. Okay.
I think works. I believe it
there
does.
we go.
That piece is not supposed to be, it's supposed to be like this, more or less, on a smaller table, on a mirror. This is cogito. Of course, everybody knows Latin, right? Cogito ergo sum, which means I think, therefore I am. Well, we have to cogitate in English, don't you have the word?
Yes, that's the word.
So this is what happened, unfortunately, when we try to think, you know. We often go in circles.
You go in circles until you finally get the right path to follow.
And of course, it goes both ways, so you never know, you go
think backwards.
The right way, you know.
You can go rewind and start again.
Forth, you know. But what's nice about this cogito is that you could go back easily on your steps, you know, your thought and rectify it. So, of course, this is a reference to, you know, to the idea of thoughts and what it leads to.
And our thoughts go back and our thoughts go around in circles.
But
I think it's a wonderful.
Unfortunately, they seem to be always going around, you know.
Yes, unfortunately, we do tend to do that, yes.
A lot of things we don't find real answer for. So that's more or less the reference to that. The table was a mirror table.
Oh, oh, that is perfect. Carries
well,
it all the way out.
Reflection, obviously.
Yes, we reflect when we think.
And you see, you have a little light here, you see,
the light.
out. We cannot see it probably because of the spot, but you have a little, you know.
The light goes on when the idea comes in. The perfect carryover on a mirror. You reflect.
Right.
You go backwards. You think in the history.
Yeah.
of what your thoughts are. And then, of course, with all of that, you move forward.
Or
That's great. I
backwards.
love it. Just love that. That is great. So you indicate, though, that you're starting to you go in other directions because you feel that the language eventually limits.
Well, yes. Well, you know, I mean, it's a media which is not the usual art media. I mean, also, even in the area of sculpture, it's not universal. So it's a real challenge.
Yes.
And is it possible to convey beyond words? Is it possible to allude to, you know, what you have in mind to allude to? It's not sure. A word is imperfect. We all know that. A word never conveys reality anyway.
That's right.
Right. So it's but this is the whole point. You see, it's to trigger and like think what's behind the word. You know, what's beneath it, what's above. We don't know. It's the ultimate word, the first word and the last word. You know, everybody wants to have the last word, which is very metaphorical. What you know. So yes, so as a medium, it's not a very, it's a very difficult one, you know, as opposed to painting in the strict sense of painting or traditional sculpture, which is shape or material as an important element. You see, in this case, I don't know. I cannot help it. That's all I can do. You see, it failed or it succeeded. It's beyond me.
Yeah. No, I hope you go on with this because it absolutely fascinates me because it isn't just on a flat surface and you're making a painting. You've made a sculpture out of every one of these.
Yeah, if you can call it that, if you can call it a sculpture. You know, it's very difficult when people ask what I do. Once I'm a sculptor, I don't feel that's really describe what I'm doing, you know.
Okay, we, believe it or not, our time is running down.
And we're starting, because, you know,
yes,
thinking,
at the right time. We thank you so much for coming to see us tonight, Philippe. We've enjoyed our sessions with you very much. Welcome to the audience another time for Thoughts of an Artist, and we will have other guests. But we have certainly enjoyed having Philippe Maucotel with us for these sessions. We'll be